All right, I'm here with Chandika Jayasundara, founder and CEO of Creately. How you doing today?
Doing quite good. Thank you. Good
Awesome,
morning.
great to have you here today. So Creately is a workplace collaboration platform with over 10 million users or so. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So you obviously have a big journey, a scaling journey that I'd love to hear about today. But why don't you start off and tell me about your journey to becoming a founder?
Um, so if I start at the very beginning, so since I was small, I got into computers. I was a hacker from day one. Not the kind of take things apart hacker. I
Hmm.
was connect things and build things kind of hacker. And so I really loved making stuff, solving problems with writing little apps and tools and that kind of thing. And to me, the real power computing unlocks is the ability to edit and undo. So I'm a
Hmm.
creative person by iteration, I would say,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So it's such a you wish you had it in the real life. You know what I mean? So that's a major unlock for me, and that so I was continuously interested in doing things with solving problems, right?
Yeah.
With tech, and I started some little friends teamy company things when I was in school. We built websites and apps for people, and it was fun. And when I so I after I graduated, worked for a couple of years in a consulting firm, and at that time, what I was doing is really trying to absorb everything about how a larger company runs and how what the processes look like and so on to like really do a very quick self-study MBA by imitation sort of thing.
Hmm.
And then so I know all this is I grew up in Sri Lanka, so this is in Sri Lanka. I did this stuff, and then I moved to Australia, and I was in the university doing some research oriented work, and and I stumbled upon this problem, which led me to found as in problem that I wanted to solve that I felt so compelled about that I found some other friends to work on it with me and founded a company.
Wow. So tell me about that. Describe the problem to me and how did you know that that was something that you wanted to take a big risk and go after?
Okay, so the problem that we solved was so when in any kind of complex project or any problem that a team of people solve, uh, visual diagrams, schematics are the way that you sort of laid out. Uh, you know, Classic what people think is architecture, that kind of things.
Hmm.
But from software, networks, uh, processes, any of these things requires a visual explanation for people to be able to understand things easily.
Hmm.
And there's for somebody who's creating that, a lot of expertise, knowledge, and data goes into that format. But what comes out is just an image, right?
Hmm.
It's a flat thing that doesn't have any context in it. So our problem to solve was okay. So you people jump between these different contexts to actually get the full picture of what they were trying to solve, and that we felt was actually broken.
Hmm.
And basically that was the core problem that we wanted to solve,
Hmm.
making bringing this visual and the data and the knowledge context into the same place, so people can quickly, understand what's really going on, iterate on it, work together on it, and so on. So that was, a compelling enough and very, it's cross industry problem, and there wasn't a way to really do it. So that was the problem we started with.
So you're saying that, I create an architecture diagram, but there's all of that metadata or context that isn't represented in there, and I want to be able to click through and get all of that rich information, right?
Yes. So, and there are rules associated with different types of models or designs. There are things that change that should affect change on a visual sense. So that's really what the problem was.
So you're going up against Microsoft Visio, right? You're going up against, I mean, depending on what time this is, Lucid Chart and the other kind of platforms that are out there. Where did you see the opportunity where you said, you know what, nobody's quite cracked this yet?
So, okay, for context, this was 2008, right? So it was only Microsoft Visio, and you had one other competitor in the market called Glyphy, who's still out there. And so at that point, it was just, Visio documents. And one, it was not collaborative. Two, it was just images that are coming together. So when we spoke to people who were working on on industries in different verticals that we wanted to look at, this was a no-brainer. It's like, this would save me so much time trying to do this. And so that was clear to us that there's an opportunity here that nobody has really touched. And there were products, and there are products in the market that were, cost millions of dollars and has this kind of capability, but really tuned for very niche scenarios in enterprise. So there wasn't a mainstream sort of product that people could adopt.
So it's interesting. I used to be an enterprise architect. I was a software architect. So I spent years of my life in Microsoft Visio building all of those diagrams, not only software architecture diagrams, but flow charts and all these sorts of things. And I'm thinking back, and again, this was about 2008. I had to, in an object, you go into kind of the notes and say, okay, here's a link to a document somewhere. Maybe it's in SharePoint if you had that sort of thing, but it's probably on some sort of file server. And then you open that up, and then you've just got a Word doc with all the stuff written down, and it was a pretty hacky.
And the doc changes,
solution to it.
The diagram or the visual doesn't, or the visual changes, the doc changes. And there's so much disconnect in the entire process. And, to this day, this is how most people work.
Right.
So
a bunch of broken links and outdated
diagrams. And it's grunt work for a lot of people that you could save.
Yeah. So obviously that was a really big initial problem. And obviously the platform has grown and evolved significantly. So what I'm interested in, how did you first kind of understand from the market or understand from your customers what they needed, and how did you know how the product needed to evolve?
Okay, so I guess this is where we get into lessons learned. So so when we started at this time, so we had initial validation from customers that we spoke to, so we built this MVP and we took it on the road, right? And when we really went in to try to go into customers and speak to people and try to get them to adopt it, working with a visual canvas format to do your work inside a browser, right, was too much. So we went. So this is just not marrying like a flowchart box with a couple of fields of data. What we actually built was a a modeling platform that looked like a basic diagramming tool that had knowledge and intelligence embedded in it, so you could model a network and say actually this one wouldn't scale to this many clients. So there was a lot of because we want to solve this problem of we called it spell check for design, domain specific design. So we could do you could do cool things even though you didn't know you wanted a problem solving, but you didn't know the domain really well. But you have an idea. So the idea was that you bring in your general expertise and try to solve this problem with the rest of maybe not domain experts.
Yeah.
And
So it was a prototyping tool beyond just a documentation.
yes,
Yeah.
so that's essentially sort of a mix of these things, and it was very cool. It looked great. People really loved the demos, but they just couldn't use it. It was just too much. What they were wowed at was that I can do this in the browser, right? That was, at that time, that was the biggest innovation for them when they saw that. So we tried to go to market with this. It was way too early, and we dumbed it down to a flowcharting and a diagramming tool, so that we could go to market. That's really what happened, and so
That's interesting. Do you feel like you waited too long? Because it's rare. I usually hear founders talk about we launched too early, right? We didn't have enough feature. You're saying we had built something too robust for the market and we had to scale it back. That's unique.
Yeah. So we did this we went out and showed things around in 2008, and 2009, end of 2009, we had a down consumer version of this product ready to go, and we launched it in end of 2009.
Yeah.
And from there we were able to quickly acquire customers and grow from there, and that was good. But we were quite never truly happy about the problem we solved, because it was web was a medium, and then it was also the differentiation was better UX, right? And we put down some of the very common UX that you see on all products now. At the time, you could go see our YouTube demo videos, and we brought in a lot of the common things now into the medium, and because we had to innovate on that. But it's still very thin, sort of a very thin layer of what's really great about it. And what people really loved was actually the concept that you could do it on the web, in a browser. The user experience was far better than Microsoft Visio. And that's really crux of it.
I hate to say it doesn't take much to be honest.
I would say so. To its credit, though, Visio is quite good now. But
powerful, yeah. It's interesting. I'm thinking back to, so 2008 was really the beginning of SaaS.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I assumed that you built, there was an Ajax client, right? So it was kind of a heavy.
Second part of my failure story.
Okay.
We built this in, Flex.
So that's what I was going to. So you were right at that transition where the very first SaaS platforms were built in Flash, but really didn't have any network capability. And then Ajax took over. So you were right behind that curve.
Yeah. So as in we built it in Flash. But our back end was, we had, what was it? It was Java based. I can't remember what tech we used, but we had real time collaboration, right? 2 years in, we had real time collaboration, and it was
Flash.
Yes, we had.
That's
and
amazing.
So we did a lot of cool stuff, but and we invested so much in this platform, right? And but I think couple of years in, Steve Jobs write this thing, and Flash is dead. But we had we had customers, we had people using the platform every day. People loved it. We loved it, but there was we were heading into abyss, right? And we were a smaller company at that time as well, because of how the market dynamics were, and and from where we started, right? So our team was mostly based in Sri Lanka and Australia, and we didn't have strong ecosystems to sort of support us and grow us as well. And some of the lessons learned actually, this is in hindsight, is from experience or exposure that you usually take for granted if you're in the valley, right? But it is not, and there were some hard lessons learned in that whole process. However, I would say what happened was basically we had an aging tech, a nice product in a no future tech platform, and that's where we were.
And so you had to rebuild it from scratch,
Yes.
at least the client.
Everything had to get done again. And
Was it clear to you, the writing on the wall, that okay, this is just something we have to do, or did you resist? Did you hold on to see maybe?
Okay, so we couldn't agree, right? And so in a couple of years in, there were a lot of different directions we could have taken the company in, and it was interesting times, 2011, 2012 sort of times where the market was changing, and SaaS was really coming up, and the founders couldn't agree, which way to go, what to do, and I sort of took a step back, and we just ran the company. It was just running, and there was, we should have had more, motivation to really, rewrite it as soon as we could. But the sunk cost and,
Yes.
availability of resources, current customers asking for things versus, new customers wanting a different platform, and the, time to build out, and, should we exit now? All these different questions, right, were on the plate, and, it was indecision and paralysis, I would say, for a while.
Yeah.
So, so that sets the context for V2, where we sort of restructured. I came back in and started 2019, rebooted the company, launched the version that was being built for this new full JavaScript, HTML5 sort of platform that we were building really quickly in 2019, and we grew from there. So the challenge at that point was to really transition this. We already had millions of people, a couple million people using this, our old product. We had years of documents in there, in Flash, this format, and we had to transition them into this new product, which had way less features, because we couldn't build years and years of features into it, and and retain those customers at first, right? And many of those customers were, because how we acquired them earlier on, and so on, were small teams and individuals, and so it's very disparate, different kinds of things, and we had to carefully handle this transition and still grow. So thankfully it went well, and we grew really quickly after we relaunched, and we should have done it years and years ago, and we'd be in a much better position, because by doing that, as in so in the probably after 2015 or so, even though our product was good, we were not acquiring organizations into the platform, because our technology was had a dead end written for it, and we didn't really see it as well. I think that was a problem.
So this is a great lesson here. There's a quote that I read recently came to mind, that is, if I had to do it all over again, I would make the same mistakes only sooner.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
important lessons learned, right? But
Yeah.
the only regret is I wish I would have taken it sooner. And the lesson here that I'm sensing from you is this sunk cost fallacy, right? And should we face the future head on, read the writing on the wall, and forge ahead, or should we cling on to the past and try to protect that sunk cost? Big companies do it all the time, right? They create their moat, they create their defensibility, they try to destroy new innovation, and they try to destroy new competitors. But as a startup, there's no room for that. Your only advantage is to be able to forge ahead into the future faster than anybody else. So it sounds like obviously there was obviously there's a huge risk, so a ton of
Yeah.
disagreement and challenge, but you had the leadership, visibility or the acumen to say, this is not going to take us into the future. Flash is not the future. This is the future we have to go down. And as soon as we possibly can get people aligned, we just have to forge ahead. And ultimately, and it was painful, right? You had to sacrifice, you risked losing millions of customers, but then you 5x'd it from there. So a testament to you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's really the as in so yeah, obviously because we were doing that in 2019, our competitors, right, had had a leg up on us by that time, quite a big leg up on us, and that's where we were, right, and so continuing on to the story with the lessons learned, so 2019, we're growing really fast. 2020 comes in, and the pandemic hits, and we accelerate even further, right? Because these tools become like the bread and butter of every single team, and we basically rise with the tide, and that was very good. So we were excited for this future. But so 2020 March is when we see the signs of this uptick, and 2020 April it's great. May, come June, it's still going great, but we see that there are lots of little startups trying to build similar tools, right? So all this time, this space had a couple of players, right? Even though we had data technology or whatnot, we were still always in the top 3 or 5 solutions in the space continuously, because I think one, it's a even though it seems simple, it's quite quite a bit of engineering to build a visual platform on the internet, right? Versus a another HR tool or a CRM. So it takes a different kind of set of engineers, a different mindset, and a whole different ball of execution. The R&D cost is a lot higher
To create the sort of the drag and drop editors versus the static forms. That
Yeah,
most
exactly,
SaaS
exactly.
platforms have. Yeah.
So so at least for the initial phase of it, right? As in, as you scale, obviously, all companies have different technical problems that are deep enough. But at this at the start of it, it's harder. So, but we saw, given the opportunity was so large, people are willing to invest in the space, and then we realized, as a smaller, market shareholder in the space, and still catching up with feature parity for everybody else, because we started in 2019. This and because everybody was adopting it, it was very clear to me in 2020, mid 2020, that this space, the solution of whiteboarding and basic collaboration on the web, on real time collaboration, was going to become sort of commoditized.
Yeah.
So knowing the lessons learned earlier, we had a couple options, right? So one, it's still going great. Everybody's growing really fast, including us. We could double down on the segment, acquire much market share as fast as we can, and go from there. Or, change tracks and look at, actually a sustainable, push in for the future of what we wanted to do. And we chose path 2, right? Which is very, very difficult as well. We had already had customers who had now transitioned from a previous one into a new one. We acquired new customers at a rapid pace, and these people are asking for things. And we took a step back and decided to invest in building back to the original problem of the company that was almost 10 years ago, and solve this problem of bringing the context into the visual form and making the canvas the primary work interface, and combining data, the visuals, and at that point AI into this whole flow, and build out this platform. So that basically, because we were a smaller operation, we had to forego opportunity in the current market, and spend a lot of core R&D time in building out this this platform that we have today, and we're still rolling out. And it was 2.5 years of very hard engineering work, and at the start of this year, only at the start of this year we are able to start sort of commercializing it and consumerizing the things that we've done. But we are now, but we were right. So that's a bet that paid off. So we were right because Apple came out with Freeform, right? Platforms that are not visual collaboration platforms are now offering visual collaboration tools. So ClickUp has a visual collaboration tool. Atlassian is coming up with one, right? For years we were a great Atlassian partner. We had a plugin into the Atlassian ecosystem, but they're building their own one. So everybody is bringing this, just like text editing. The canvas is just another thing, right? If you have spreadsheets, you have the text editing and the canvas, and that completes the kind of forms of data that you want to take into a platform. But those canvases are still rudimentary, whereas our canvas now is data bound, and has semantic understanding of the parts that are connecting to different kinds of verticals, and we are able to solve niche problems within this same space, and carve out a different portion for us, while still being a visual collaboration platform. So there was another transition for us from a diagramming focused platform in 2019 to visual collaboration platform in 2019, 2020 that we quickly accelerated against. And this is not just product, right? It's market positioning and years of market positioning that we had to change as well. We are succeeding in it.